Well, there you go. Pathogenic priming is real. You want to make it worse for yourself? Get a flu shot or 10 while you're at it. I say Fauci should have all of ours and
Right.
those other boneheads. Anyway, hey, Lisa Rooney. So good to
Hello,
see you.
hello.
Where's
How are you?
I ran out of stick to pull. I was doing some Cali By to get ready for today's show to help me overcome all my sinus intensity. But I'm getting there, but I'm grateful that you're here.
Yeah, I love that remedy. I That helps me a lot because I'm really sensitive to the barometric pressure changes,
Hmm.
and that one helps immensely to just take the edge off of that.
I used to get barometric pressure headaches years ago in my early years before I understood all the things I needed to do to correct stuff. So yeah, that's why a lot of the sinus remedies run through that for me.
Hmm.
Allium cepa, the classic one, the red onion, didn't always do it. Even though it's like that general one that most people go to first, I tended to go to Cali B and stick to and have better success. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're just talking homeopathic shop here. Welcome back, Lisa. Happy holidays here, December, almost done for the year.
Well, happy holidays to you and to Don. What a happy birthday! I'm so happy to call you friend.
Yes, did you send him homeopathic birthday candle?
I didn't. I
It's
didn't know
really
it was his
small.
birthday until today. Yeah. So it's really nice to be with you guys today. Are you guys all ready for the holidays?
Still getting ready. I'm just, just being home or what I call home. I don't know where I live sometimes. Is something I got to adjust to and adapt to not have to ride out again immediately anyway.
Yeah.
But there's, there is a lot of fun, and we got the pagan Christmas tree ritual up, and it's fun. Festival of Lights. The Hanukkah bush, whatever you want to call it. It's a time to light up the world because we're heading to the darkest, shortest day of the year, usually around the 21st of December, and then the
Yep.
return of the light. Although winter hits officially then, but the return of the light.
Yep. I'm doing a campaign right now. It's a free campaign, 30 days email campaign. You can um, email me if you're interested. I don't think you can sign up for my website, but it's called 30 Days of Quiet. If you're on my email list, you probably got it. And it's every single day there's a gentle ritual that you can do to really harness the power of the quiet of winter. Because we're
Oh,
doing the exact opposite. In society, we're doing the exact opposite. And I decided to do it. I've thought about this for years, but I decided to do it because the week before I had been talking to basically almost every client that I talked to talked about how I want to love this season, but I'm so overwhelmed by this season.
hmm,
And how do I bring back the quiet?
yeah.
This is the time when nature is telling us to go inward and all we're doing is expressing outward.
Yeah, this morning I did a early Zoom call with Dr. Judy Mikovits and Carrie Made and Dr. Doc Nanda. We were doing a third in a series of eye health discussions. And, a lot of our discussion was about the blue light, the artificial light. Interestingly
Mhm.
enough, we talk about the shorter days, and we're in unnatural light more than ever.
Mhm.
Incandescent bulbs, which I think are not illegal anymore, still have been replaced mostly by LEDs or the mercury bulbs. Hopefully, people are discarding them safely. So there's a lot of issues in terms of seasonal affective disorder, on top of a lot of invisible EMF interference from these lights and how they impact the how we perceive, that outer world. So we got to
Absolutely.
do a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we have to do, but when we get into a routine and it can just be little tweaks that we can do, which
Mhm.
makes it really easy. So, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, and by the way, if you haven't signed up for Lisa Rooney's email, you can go to vibrantlife247.com and do that.
Yes. Yes. So interesting. I loved that clip from Jeffrey Jackson and Del Bigtree. I love Jeffrey. I think he's a great reporter. And what's really interesting is that information, like it's not new news. Like we've known this for a long time. There was a report that came out from the Physicians for Informed Consent, probably 2020, maybe 2021, and they quoted some statistics that there was a 65% increase in of non-flu respiratory illnesses in populations that continually got the flu shot.
Yeah.
So I think that it's great that that information is continuing to come out, and it just makes sense. So we're gonna kind of finish up our ditch and switch series
Yeah. Well, with the flu
with
and Lisa, one of the things that I've concluded or am concluding, just like the suffering I've gone through the last couple of days, and I'm always asking for like little tiny violins to play when I'm doing it. Uh,
Mhm.
Fortunately, I'm not having these episodes often, very rarely. But I've also talked to people about, oh, I never get sick. I never get the flu. And I'm like, not having symptoms occasionally when you're exposed to things. And I think primarily toxic burdens or just being under stress, emotional or physical stress, and it
Mhm.
results in what? Compromised systems of function. And but the primary area of dysfunction we don't look at if we're allopathically trained is liver, kidney, lymph, meridians of excretion. And that I have perception of even influenza, even as we have remedies for it in homeopathy, and we'll get to them, that once again, my training in the French approach is always starting with liver because you clear that pathway, open it up, and then hit these other remedies. It's only going to make everything work better.
Absolutely, and that's when your bryonia comes in every time, right?
And
I
bryonia is indicated for flus anyway, separate from my use that way. But anyway, let's go through. We have a couple of slides to show everybody whenever you want to get to them.
Yeah, so just, we have been focusing this year on the series called Ditch and Switch, which has been aimed at, really helping your audience to have homeopathic and natural options for treatments to these common illnesses. So, because of the season we're in, we're talking about the flu. I wanted to talk a lot about prevention, a little bit about treatment if we have time to get to there, but I'm pretty sure most of your audience probably chooses not to insert into their bodies by way of needle, or in this particular case, the nasal spray, certain chemical interventions that we're talking about. But some of them, some of us may get pressure from our families, or we may be around people who are taking, these injections. And so today, what we're going to do is we're really going to talk about what we can do to prevent. So this is kind of our ditch and switch. If
Yes.
you're still on that and you're looking to get off of that bandwagon, this is information on how to get off the bandwagon. And if you're not on this bandwagon at all, you're already, in the mindset of not doing the chemical intervention, then um, these are great ways to prevent it as everybody else around you is getting them.
Well, Lisa, I just read somewhere that doctors and nurses in hospital settings are like 70% or something like that are not getting flu shots.
Oh,
That's how bad it's gotten because they've all seen and witnessed and talked amongst each other. And they're like, nope, doesn't work. In fact, I always get sicker when I get it. So we need to reach out to the doctor and nursing community, let them know it's not just stopping something that you realized is not good for you. You have other options. Should you encounter or succumb temporarily, we can get you back very
right,
quickly.
right. And what I love about homeopathy, and let's talk about the flu in general. I mean, you mentioned earlier organ systems, that it's we should be getting sick every now and then, as opposed
Or
to not
having
ever getting sick at
symptoms, right?
all. Yeah.
It's, yeah, human symptoms.
But if we look at it from a homeopathic standpoint, it's the body's language. Take away virus, whatever you believe on all of that, we get sick, we get symptoms. It's the body saying, hold on, I need to get your attention. We need to slow down. And that's all it is. And maybe that's what happened with you. I mean, you've been
Oh,
running a
yeah.
little ragged, and so your body's like, if you're not going to slow down, I'm going to manifest something that's going to make you slow down.
Well, and plus spending all day indoors, like in these convention centers. And of course, the lights are very artificial. They're not incandescent. And I
Yep.
was craving to get outside and I was hardly got any sunlight just in the morning before I had it. And by the time you left, it was already dark. So
Right.
all of these things compound to plus I'm letting go now. I don't have another trip. You can allow the body to do what it wanted to do, and you held it off because your will is so strong. You're like, I don't have time. I ain't got time to bleed. I ain't got time to no whatever. Yet at a certain point, we have to process and deal with it. It's not a bad thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So these remedies will help. They can help with prevention, and keep in mind that these remedies we're going to talk about. There's nothing out there that is 100% effective in prevention. When I think about prevention, or we oftentimes the term that we use is homeoprophylaxis. What we're doing is we're educating the body. The remedies are the teachers, and they're educating the body. So when they get exposed to this virus, this viral load, they recognize the pattern, they know what to do with it. So they either fight it quickly and you don't even know it, or if it goes into full expression, it's typically going to be less significant and last, much shorter duration.
Exactly. So yeah, let's dive in. I mean, we've got remedies that we call nosodes that are often used to prevent or prophylactically use, not waiting to react. You're acting in advance. Again, notwithstanding the viral controversy, yay or nay, we're not delving into that. Just whatever belief system you have, suffice it to say the remedies don't care whether it's a virus or not.
Right.
It's the symptoms that indicate its use, and that's where we'll start.
Absolutely. So Don, you want to pull up that slide and we'll jump right in. Okay. So these are remedies. Now there are a lot of remedies. I want to say for your audience, there are a ton of remedies out there to treat the flu. But these are some of the remedies that I tend to turn to that I like for flu prevention. Now, do you need to do flu prevention? Okay, so I want everybody to do a gut check where they are at with respect to fear of the flu or any other viral illnesses. I want them to check their exposure. How exposed are they? And then once they've answered those two questions, then they can determine whether or not they need to prevent for the flu. Because I think we need to also trust our bodies. In my line of work, I work from my home. I'm not overexposed. I really don't do flu prevention on a regular basis. There have been years that I have done it. I did it a whole lot more when my children were in school because they were being exposed and we were being exposed and all of that kind of stuff. My husband travels a lot. It would be really great if he would do flu prevention. He doesn't really do it, but he has got an immune system like steel. So he doesn't necessarily feel like he needs it. But everybody, I don't want anybody to be stepping into this in fear, because fear is going to reduce your immune system. It's going to reduce the energetics of your body. And, you really just need to assess whether or not it makes sense for you. So remedies that I love. This first one is from a company called Real Vitality. Now, this is Cilla Watcott's company.
Yes.
Sadly, she passed
The
away.
late Cilla Watcott. We loved her, and she was featured here. So she still has remedies available in her.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes. So my friend Courtney has taken over her organization. Courtney was a long time. She worked for Cilla for a long time, and she's doing a fantastic job. And so this formula is it's a proprietary formula that was selected specifically by Cilla, and it's made of a combination of homeopathic prepared, like historic flu remedies, so the nosodes, and remedies that are going to cover your top flu symptoms. So, your colds, your coughs, your fever, your sore throat, body aches, fatigue, etc. Even the GI symptoms that can come up with during the flu. So this is a remedy that you can begin taking now during flu season. Any of these you would begin taking now, and how you would dose them for preventative care would be just really once a week throughout the flu season. Now, I really like this combination. When I have used it, I've found great success with it. I've gotten a lot of really great feedback. So just to note that image is not what the bottle looks like. She didn't have an image on her website, so I just made something up real quick. So when you go to purchase it, it may look something different. Now, the next two are influenzinum and thymulene, and this is a long time flu prevention strategy. Influenzinum is made from the 3 most recent strains of the influenza virus. And, what happens is every year the WHO determines what, those strains are going to be. And then homeopathic pharmacies will they'll get the strains, and then they'll formulate a homeopathic remedy from it. And then thymulene, this is a hormone that is made from the thymus gland. And the thymus gland kind of sits right above your heart. And this is the hormone that is known to help your body create T cells, which are really important for fighting viruses.
The thymus, Have you done that? Ever tapped it to stimulate your immune response?
Yeah, I do that quite frequently, just as a habit. So these two remedies can be combined, and they can be taken again once a week for preventative. And then this last one here is oscillococcinum. And many people have heard about this. They're like, that weird one, I don't know how to pronounce it, oscillo, what. So this is actually one of the number one flu remedies, or the number one flu remedy in Europe. It's been used for a long, long, long time.
Hmm.
And this, again, you can take this once a week during flu season just to help. Again, we're educating the body. We're telling the body what to do. Should it encounter the flu virus, then the body knows what to do, knows how to mount an attack against it. And typically people who use, you don't have to use all three of these. You really just, I would just pick one. You don't, all three of them is a little bit overkill. But typically people who utilize this approach, this flu preventative approach, generally don't get sick, or if they do, it's a very mild case. So your next remedy there is ferrum phos. We've talked about cell salts. Ferrum phos, we think about this as the first stage of inflammation. So anytime, this is the perfect, oh, I'm coming down with something and I don't know what it is, but I know I'm coming down with something.
Hmm.
And so you've got inflammation in the body, you start taking this remedy. And I take this remedy when that happens. I take it pretty frequently. It might be every hour, maybe every couple hours, just to really get my body, handling the inflammation.
Yeah.
And then it gives me the ability to kind of see what, what's going to present. Is this going towards the cold, or is it going towards the flu? Is it head? Is it chest? What's going to come up? And then I can tailor the remedies for that.
There's a little crossover with aconitum napellus, right? Aconite, first sign of anything. And of course, phosphorus, which is one of my favorite remedies when you have a fever. It can help boost a fever. Like yesterday, I took some phosphorus as well because in the evening after the show, I was feeling a little bit warm. So, and I'm still sneezy. Here it comes. But maybe stand by.
Yeah, I love both of those remedies too. And as a matter of fact, I think we've talked maybe once or twice on some of the shows. The Banerjees have a protocol for the common cold, which is aconite 200 mixed with Bryonia 30C. And so that's what they recommend for onset of cold, flu, whatever it is, aconite and Bryonia.
Oh, and I've been hitting this next one pretty hard, as so has Super Don, and he has a little story to tell about that, the Sovereign Silver sinus relief, and we have the Argentin, of course, as well as an option for those that need it. But I've got a lot of sinus symptoms, a lot of congestion, and I need to clear and blow through that. And when I did the sinus spray, it was like a little bit burning because there was a bacterial colony present
It
that I
was work.
normally don't have, but it's really killing the bad guys fast.
Now, this is one of the things that I do pretty regularly during this season. As a matter of fact, I pulled everything out just about 2 or 3 days ago. So once a day, I do a squirt up my nose, sometimes in the evening, sometimes in the morning. Generally, I tend to do it more in the evening, but it's just for anything that I've been exposed to during the day, whatever's circulating, it just helps to kind of clear and kill everything. So that's one that I do pretty regularly. And then
Yeah.
this last one is a supplement. Now, there are tons of immune supplements out on the marketplace, and there are a lot of really, really good ones. This one is very easily accessible. It's called Congaplex. It's made from a company called Standard Process. I don't use all of the Standard Process line, but there's a few remedies that or a few supplements from Standard Process that I consistently have in my cabinet, and this is one of them. And this is a glandular. So it's got all the right vitamins and minerals that you need, but it also has glandulars in it as well. And how I use this is, I might take this once or twice a week during flu season. But I also will take this again, if there's something coming on. I'm usually doing like ferrum phos, or I might be doing maybe aconite and Bryonia, and then I always do a supplement as well. And so this is usually the one that I go to. I usually take about 3, which is a little bit more than what they suggest on the label. So maybe you should follow what they suggest on the label. But over years, I just determined that 3 was kind of the magic number for me. And, my son was coming down with whatever's been going around. He came home from school. He was home not even, I don't know, 6, 8 hours. And he's like, Mom, I don't feel good. And so I started him on Congaplex. We were giving him the silver. And then I started him on some specific flu remedies for exactly how he was presenting.
By the way, how's his ACL? Was it ACL recovery he's working on?
He's doing great. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. He's got, I think, 90%, um, like the angle that he's supposed to be able to bend his knee at now is a full on 90%, which is really good. He's doing good. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, coming home from for the Christmas holidays, usually another aspect of these kids coming back from college end up going, "Poof," just like I
Yeah.
said, the relaxation rebound. They're not under the stress of having to get everything done, and they're home. It's like, okay, let it go, and their body responds and says, "All right, let's get all this garbage out."
Absolutely. And the other thing that I want to say is, like, if you have kids that are at college or you're young adults, a very simple combination remedy for homeoprophylaxis for prevention is really easy for them. So that's what I really like about this INF CV remedy from Real Vitality, because it's a really good combination, and that's all they have to take. And you just, text them once a week, take your, did you take your remedy? Did you take your remedy? And they can take it more than once. They can take it daily if they feel like they need to, but for preventative, it just makes it very, very simple for our young adults and our teenagers.
Excellent. Well, we have a whole other page here. By the way, Lisa can be found at vibrantlife247.com. And even some of the, you'll see some discount codes that she has there for
Mhm.
specific products that you can look on that schedule there. And of course, we have the discounts for Sovereign Silver, but I want you to take advantage of these discounts to save a little bit for the holidays. And, these are great gifts of healing for others when maybe they know a little bit about your natural state or crunchy state and they say, maybe I'd like to try some of what Lisa's doing.
Yeah.
So that most people will go, well, that's really a thoughtful gift to keep me strong during the winter.
Yep. Yep. I think they're great gifts.
So should we go to page 2 here?
Yeah, let's go to page 2.
Okay, here we
All
go.
right. So you've got the flu, the prevention, either you didn't prevent or it didn't work or whatever, and you've got the flu. So, this is where things get a little bit more nuanced. So as you can see, I've got some individual remedies and I've got some combo remedies. And I do want to say again that there are a lot of remedies out there for the flu. These 3 remedies, the individual ones, are the ones, these are kind of like my go-tos. These are the ones that tend to really kind of hit a lot of what you're experiencing with the flu. So this first one is gelsemium. I absolutely love this remedy for the flu. I think it is amazing. I actually like this remedy for fatigue as well. You can use it either in a 30C or a 200C. I've seen it effective in both potencies. And, this is the classic flu: dizzy, dopey, droopy, fatigued. Oh my gosh, I've got the flu. The chills, it's
Sneezy.
very, very, yep, it's the very classic flu remedy. And this was the main remedy that they used during the Spanish flu of 1918. So it's still relevant today for flu symptoms. The next one there is oscillococcinum, that can also be used as treatment for the flu. So, again, it's kind of a classic flu prevention or a classic flu presentation. And then the third one is eupatorium. And I really like eupatorium because eupatorium it is a deeper, more achier kind of flu. So it kind of hurts down into the bones. And you may not necessarily, you may feel better with movement or worse with movement, which means you can bring in like a bryonia or a Rhus tox remedy. But the flu symptom of eupatorium is like the worst you've ever felt. So this was a very, very strong remedy that we used during the COVID era, because that flu that came through, the COVID flu, was the worst people had ever felt. And that's really the keynote there with eupatorium.
Yep.
And again, I like it in a 30C. I've used it in a 200C as well. Now, these are going to be kind of your core. Here's the thing about treating colds and flus, is that colds and flus have a lot of different symptoms. And so we may need to use multiple remedies in order to address the different symptoms that are coming up. So you may start with gelsemium, but you may also have throat issues going on. So you may need to pull in some throat remedies, Merck's Sol or Lachesis. Or you may have some sinus issues going on. So you may need to pull in Cali-Bic or Sanguinaria or Heparsulf to address your sinus issues. So I don't want people to get caught up on, you know, when you're treating a cold and flu, because there are so many different symptoms that can be associated, you have to use multiple remedies oftentimes in order to address those different symptoms. It's a little bit of a departure from the classical methodology
Mhm.
in homeopathy, where you just do the totality of symptoms and you use one remedy, you know, to treat the totality. I have
Yeah.
not found that with cold and flus to work because there's too many there's too many different things going on.
Well, and just to add to that, the use of complexes
Mhm.
are typically done in what we call the lower potency range. So you're less likely to trigger aggravations, things like that. So for those that don't have expertise or the time or inclination to study these remedies like we're bringing out to you, complexes are perfectly viable options, safer certainly than any of the what we call the allopathic drug options there. So I'm glad you're bringing these into the mix to make it easy for folks.
Yeah, so these combo remedies, again, there are a lot of combos out on the marketplace. These are the three that I have used and am most familiar with. But you know, don't hesitate to pick up any combo remedies. There's lots of great ones on the marketplace. So that first one there is from Real Vitality. That's their viral ally. And you know, this is just a great remedy. Again, it's a combination remedy. It kind of uh, addresses all of the potential symptoms that you could potentially have with a cold flu going on this year. The next one there is from Desbio. This is a company that I work with frequently. I really like their combinations. And one of the things that I really like about this particular combination is that it has the adenovirus nosode in it. So it has your typical aconite, eupatorium, gelsemium. It has influenzinum in it. It has a lot of the remedies that most of the combinations are going to have, but it also has that additional nosode in there, which I think is real powerful, because sometimes we're getting this, you know, this flu, and we don't know if it's that specific virus that's coming up.
Well, I notice on this one you have a 20% off discount link if somebody wanted to get it.
Yeah, Desbio is not, you typically cannot get those retail. And so, you know, if you are interested in that product, just send me an email. I'll send you a link, and then you can get a 20% off discount at checkout.
All right, we got, and at the bottom of the screen, you'll see Lisa at vibrantlife247.com.
That's right. And then this last one is from Newton Homeopathics. Again, they've got some great complexes. This one is a really beefy one. I like it a lot. It does have your standard aconite. It's got arsenicum, baptisia, eupatorium, gelsemium. It also has histominum in it, which is, you know, I think that's a really interesting addition to that remedy for, you know, kind of that inflammation and that allergic and the headaches and the coughing and shivering, things of that nature. It also has influenzinum in it. So it's a good, they're, all of them are great combos. They just all have a little bit of a different combination of remedies in them.
Excellent. Well, we got a good overview on some ditches and switches, so to speak,
Yeah.
for influenza. Whether you believe it's a virus or not doesn't matter. I want to emphasize that the beauty here of homeopathy, it could care less what you believe about what causes the flu. If the symptoms match, it will be helpful for you. All right.
Yep.
So that means everybody can get along here.
Yep. And a reminder to everyone, if you decide to use those combo remedies, um, take a look on the back of the box and look at all the different remedies that are on there. There's probably one or two that really nail your symptoms. And that's a great way to really hone in and learn what are the remedies that are most successful when you have a presentation of the flu.
Well done, well said. Now, I have a question of the day I was going to do in the second hour, but the more I thought about this question, it was a lot of female specific issues. I thought, gosh, we got Lisa here. Let's include her. And Lisa, also thank you for whenever you can to join us on our AMAs. It's been so wonderful to have you. We've been having a great time with the community, and you know, adding a wide variety of perspectives and experiences for a lot of things. And so, if you guys want to go further, please consider joining us. And Super Don, can you confirm, is it the 27th of December? Is that a Saturday? Because I think that's what we've set it up, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and you put the invite out on Patreon as well?
Yep, it's posted.
Okay, thank you. By the way, happy birthday. Look,
Thank
Diana
you.
says happy birthday to you. I'm just looking at I'm going to put this up on screen for you. See? They didn't forget you. Happy birthday, Don.
Restful sleep is what
In your new year. You're not getting much of that.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I could do better.
Thank you.
All right. So let's do a question of the day, shall we?
Mhm.
This is very detailed, and we're anonymizing the person because they put details in there, so we don't want to out them on this. But from a CH. Hi, Robert. Sorry for the DM. You are my biggest inspiration in natural health the last 10 plus years. So I felt compelled to turn to you with this question. Well, thank you. It's very kind. I'm 2 years post menopause. Kind of like Super Non's there too. I think he's a few years more than that. But I, I recently experienced a sequence of events: ovulation, discharge, tender breasts, slight cramping, followed by 4 days of very light spotting, bleeding. Research suggests this can be a normal part of menopause when there's a surge in estrogen. The uterine lining can shed. I haven't seen an OBGYN in years, but went to one recently, and she suggests a vaginal ultrasound. The bleeding I experienced has resolved on its own. So my question to you is, if this was your wife, would you encourage her to get the ultrasound just for peace of mind, or would you refrain from any fear tactics such as ultrasound imaging? Let's see. My spiritual side is telling me to cancel the ultrasound, but my mother of four is telling me to do it for peace of mind. Any perspective greatly appreciated. I know this is unusual, but it's weighing heavy on me, and I value your insight so much. Well, again, I love it that Lisa's here. I'll certainly add that I really do place a lot of importance on your intuition and the spiritual side of things. I don't think we place enough emphasis there. And some people say, well, that's irresponsible because the doctor is trained beyond your intuition. Well, they're trained in, cover your ass type medicine, doing worst case scenario. And even though ultrasounds are less invasive than some procedures, there's a cost, there's an expense, there's also inflammation that can happen from it. So I don't suspect, based on what she said here, CH said, Lisa, that she has an ongoing chronic issue, that it may have been just a temporary surge or perhaps a spreading and shedding exposed to someone who had a COVID injection, about the mRNA stuff that's happening. So I want you to add your wisdom into the mix here, homeopathic or otherwise.
Well, I just love these kind of conversations with women because we all go through an internal struggle at some point because the world, the medical establishment, the guys in the white coats, generations back came in and said, no, 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 you guys don't know enough about your body. You need to come to me. And it was never that way before. It was the grandmothers and the mothers that were teaching their daughters and their great granddaughters the wisdom of their body. And we have that has permeated into society. So we sit in this place of my intuition tells me something, but fear tells me something else. And so this is a conversation that I have oftentimes in my coaching practice with the women that I work with, and even with the men that I work with, is really how do we get back in touch with what our intuition is saying, what we know to be true as humans, and how do we really listen to what our body tells us. That's one of the things that's amazing about homeopathy and somatic healing, is that it's all about embodiment. It's all about being in the body. It's listening to what your body is telling you. And we have to go back to that. We have to go back to really trusting that wisdom. So, but sometimes we need a little bit of help there. So the first thing that I would say, and this is obviously, I'm not giving medical advice, I'm not taking your case or anything like that, but I would say you're in between that place of fear and intuition. So let's give you some support in the fear. I want you to go get batch flower essences. I call them batch. That's how I learned them from my original trainer. Some people call them Bach, but batch flower essences, mimulus, which is for unknown fears, and aspen. I'm sorry, mimulus is for known fears, and aspen is for unknown fears. So what you don't know, but you're afraid of. And then I also want her to get the flower essence scleranthus. Scleranthus is about decisions, and it's usually deciding between two different options. So I want you to go get those flower essences, take them for a couple of days, sit with your intuition, let the flower essences move the fear through you, and then circle back around and see how you feel about this particular issue.
Love it. Great insight. And as she said, the bleeding resolved. Obviously we have done some menstrual focused and menopausal focused talks and discussions, you and I, on the air and even in our AMAs. And so there are certainly remedies. Let's say that if the bleeding hadn't resolved, there are a number of remedies in homeopathy, including phosphorus. I was thinking if there's a lot of pain associated with it, viburnum is an interesting remedy for women that are going through menstrual difficulties and pains and bleeding. And Actia racemosa or Simicifuga racemosa is a classic one for a
Yep.
lot of menstrual irregularities. But here we are at menopausal, of course, one of the classics when we talk about menopause. Sepia comes up, lachesis also. So I just throw those out, just the opportunity.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for CH because she's resolving it. It looks like the only concern, as you point out, is whether to go with fear or intuition,
Mhm.
and sometimes you're dealing with the fear of your family members, not just your own. Maybe you're fine and they're like, oh, please get it checked out, mom. I'm so concerned for you. And so now you're working on placating their fears when you're not afraid. So that's an interesting dilemma too.
It's an interesting dilemma, and it's really one that we as I'll speak to the women, that we as women we have to take that back. We have to be able to stand in our families and say, actually, I'm gonna stand with especially if you've got daughters, and even if you've got sons, because with daughters you're teaching them how to listen to their intuition, and with sons you're teaching them how to trust the woman's intuition. And so, we really have to have, it takes courage, but we have to have the courage to pull that back and be like, no, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna deal with kind of whatever fear is coming up, and I'm gonna listen to what my body says. And if my body is telling me that I need to go get this checked out, it's gonna give me another sign.
Yeah.
And sometimes that sign is, once you've handled that fear, that's what I love about those flower essences, because they will help your body process that fear. If your intuition, if there's something inside that's saying you still need to go get this checked out, it's going to stay with you. And then that's when you can act on it.
Well, and in the allopathic belief system, it is a fear-based paradigm.
Hmm.
It's often about randomity or bad luck or bad genes. And so we see that play out, particularly with women, with the body parts that men primarily, but there are women OBGYNs that'll cut out your uterus and take your breasts away.
Yeah.
Ovaries, of course. And, that fear has built in a profitable, intervention system and then a reliance on drugs forever, right? Basically. And women who have breast cancer run in their family, often, if they're in that fear state, will encourage their family members, women, of course, to
Hmm.
remove their breasts prophylactically, which is an abject absurdity. And I'm not yelling at anybody, but I'm like, breasts are not the cause of breast cancer.
Right. You said that so nicely.
Trying to be kinder and gentler RSB for the holidays.
My internal voice is screaming, no, don't do that.
Don't let them get your body parts. I used to talk about that. Women were too quick to give up their body parts. It's like body part, uterus are us drive through. We'll take your uterus while we're in their ovaries too.
But that's the effect of what happened when the white coats came in and said, no, 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 we know more about your body than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And here are all the reasons why. I mean, that's the effect of what happened, and it's generations that has
Right.
happened. It's in the ethers.
Yes. Well, it leads us to maybe a historically based homeopathic remedy. It's the homeopathic hit of the day, going to something that the pro-vaccine cultists will always throw this in your face. So we got to counter that, and that's the homeopathic hit of the day. Stand by.
Yeah.
Playing all of the homeopathic hits every day, right here on the Robert Scott Bell Show.
Yes, the homeopathic hit of the day. It's a rather interesting one. Pitcher plant, Saracenia purpurea. Now, thanks to Better Way Health, their support for this message, health, freedom, and healing liberty, and their immune modulation support, we're all better off for it. If you guys haven't tried that, they're out of Atlanta, and I got to see Reggie and the gang. Reggie was on Friday's show live from A4M. BetterWayHealth.com. Use discount code RSB, 10% off in addition to whatever discounts you hit. And of course, Lisa Rooney is with us, always here with the homeopathic hits, even when she's not here. Vibrantlife247.com. And yes, you can get a free 20-minute consult from Lisa. And if you want to go further with any of her coaching plans, you mentioned the RSB show, you get $100 off, which is so kind and generous. Lisa, we appreciate that. Now, the homeopathic hit of the day, the Sarracenia, let's get you a free download, this PDF. It's indicated for eruptive disease states. What does that mean? I'll get to that in a minute. There's some visual issues, throbbing pains in the neck, shoulder, head, back, interestingly enough. But this is the purple pitcher plant. And it has some really interesting, it's a pretty plant. Look at that purple pitcher plant. Who knew that it could be such a good and profound homeopathic remedy? Because the key characteristics, even though you'll see elements of cerebral depression, stomach issues, gastric irritation, I got a 9 in there. I edited it wrong. Sorry. Nausea, things like that. There's headache indicated. There's back pains, lumbar to scapula. There's extremities being weak, marked prostration. And then the bottom line should be first, but it's eruptive diseases. And it says it right in the Borky, helpful for arresting eruptive diseases such as smallpox, variola, and pustulation, as they say, pustulation. So these are the things, Lisa, when we talk about these remedies, a lot of homeopathy comes from very serious, what they call infectious eruptive diseases, and countering them in a way that the so-called smallpox vaccine, in fact, never did in terms of eradication. And there are some other remedies to consider here as you scroll down. You can use it in lower potencies or medium or high potencies, but if you go up high, please consult with someone like Lisa. Other remedies that come up for possible consideration, belladonna, if it's mostly focused cerebral involvement with headache, gelsemium, we talked about that for flu as well. Veratrum album, interesting if you get more intestinal issues, and arsenicum album for vomiting with marked exhaustion. Now, we could go variolinum, which is the smallpox remedy in a homeopathic form. But I want to wrap it up so I can get some insight from Lisa here for the next few minutes on a very interesting remedy that most people don't realize, that homeopathy was very well versed at responding to these so-called deadly plagues, whatever you want to call them.
Right, right. This is such an interesting remedy. When I read about it, this is the sentence that stood out to me. This is a severe eruptive disease with a toxic course, not a mild viral rash.
Yes.
And so, smallpox. I wonder about it being used with chickenpox. Are we still talking about mpox? Is that still around?
Yeah. I would say I'd rather have you go for this remedy than what they were throwing at you.
Right. So those are the kind of things that, that this would come to mind for me. Everything that I kept reading, it really was talking about the severity of the viral illness with this eruptive pathology that is presenting.
Yeah, the intensity. When you think of smallpox, you think intensity. Although, if we look back at the history, many people died not from smallpox, but for the allopathic treatment of smallpox. And you know
Right.
what they often used? Topical mercury chloride on the pox that would come out, which was not helpful. It would eliminate them, but it would drive whatever was trying to get out of the body back in on top of the mercury toxicity. So even if they meant well, these doctors contributed to higher rates of mortality than homeopaths had, which was almost, typically historically near zero when they got to the proper treatment, the proper remedy or remedies.
Right. Speaking of weapons of mass destruction.
Yes. Mercury would be one of those things. We're going to get into that. Hey, one more comment came in. I can extend a little bit this hour because I don't have a guest next hour. If you've got a few more minutes to hang
I
out.
do. I
Okay,
do. And
good.
I have another thought I want to say for that previous question as well. But yes.
Okay, so Steve is asking about homeopathy. He knows it utilizes like treats like, but is there an application for using homeopathy for health optimization? He says muscle building, improvement in metabolism, cognition, hair growth, rather than recovering from an illness. That's a great question, Steve. I appreciate that. What do you think, Lisa?
So my short answer is yes, absolutely. A little bit more nuanced in terms of what exactly you're, looking to accomplish. I don't know that I could say that a homeopathic remedy is going to help you actually grow your musculature. You have to do the work in order to do that. But, where can it come into play? There's remedies. The options are so vast in terms of how we can apply homeopathic remedies, from the no-sodes to the SAR codes, to just, our plant remedies, our minerals, all the way across the board. I think there's all kinds of options and things that we can do to optimize our health. I'll give you an example. I don't know if this is going to speak exactly to what he's asking, but
Yeah.
I think about vitamin D, right? So everybody struggles to keep their vitamin D levels up. It's such a struggle. And there are people who are on the fence, they're on one side of the fence on vitamin D supplementation, and then there are people on the other side of the fence. Some people say it's great, some people say no, you shouldn't be doing it. I consistently talk with people who are like, I'm taking supplements, I'm supplementing my vitamin D, and I can't get those levels up. And I get outside and I do all these things. Well, I'm going to look at two things. I want to look at liver function. How is your liver functioning? And can we apply homeopathic remedies to help drainage and open up those pathways? Absolutely, we can. But we can also utilize vitamin D in homeopathic form and do a course of vitamin D, in certain potencies. There's a specific way in which you do this that helps, again, to educate the body so that the body knows actually what to do with the vitamin D that's in the system.
Yes.
So that's an example, and I don't know if that speaks specifically to his question, but that's an example of how we can utilize homeopathy to optimize the function in our body.
I agree. And you talked about growth and muscle growth. I've utilized with great success homeopathic HGH for one.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it would facilitate growth and response, in terms of musculature. It doesn't replace the work you need to do, right, to build muscle, but
Right.
it does facilitate appropriate response to that work. And yeah, there's so much to consider there. And you mentioned the vitamin D. I just come back to the Cardio Miracle, how we discovered that it nourished the pathway for stored vitamin D to activate it. And that's another aspect of why people aren't really getting their D levels up when they take all this extra D, because they're so compromised in terms of metabolic pathways, other minerals and vitamins that aren't there. But yes, homeopathically, I would say, yeah, you could use, in a circumstance like that, homeopathic D to facilitate the utilization of it more appropriately.
Absolutely. And that's something that I really look at whenever whenever I have a client coming in, no matter whether there's an emotion, they're coming in for their emotions, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the stress, the trauma, or whether they're coming in because of whatever is physically being expressed, typically because of what's going on in the mind. I always want to look at the organ systems and what organ systems do we need to open up? How do we need to open up these pathways? Because when they start to process whatever is going on, whether it's in their mind or in their body, the body needs a way to get to process that and get rid of it. And so we've got to have those pathways open, whether we look at it from a meridian system or we look at it purely from an organ system. And we can utilize homeopathics in order to do that.
Now, did you say you had another thought on one of the previous questions related?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It just kind of came to me, I do want to say that, like, sometimes we need the allopathic intervention. And sometimes there is a very clear reason why we need that. And sometimes we just need it because we want that confirmation. And so I don't want anybody, if CH decides that she wants to go get that ultrasound.
We're not going to yell at her.
Yeah, I don't want her to second guess herself, because what we can do on the back end is we can utilize homeopathic remedies to minimize the impact of any of those interventions. So we have a homeopathic remedy. It's made from the ultrasound. We can give a single dose of 30C, and whatever energetically the body is holding as a result of that ultrasound, it will help the body to release it. So we have lots of ways that we can handle the interventions that we, sometimes
Right.
need to do for whatever reason we decide
If
to do.
you're going to get a X-ray, although the digital X-rays are much less amount of radiation than they used to be, but a CT scan still has a lot of radiation, and there's
Right.
homeopathic X-ray. And I always
Right.
say, in an adjunct way, we increase selenium intake or folium intake for radiation exposure. But the ultrasound is interesting because it's non-ionizing. It's a sound wave kind of reading, so it's
Right.
arguably less damaging. But some people think there's zero impact on it developing fetus, a baby. And you see that there's arguments on both sides. I think I would try to avoid ultrasounds now, knowing what I know.
Same, and I agree completely, and I've seen it within my practice where I do a pretty extensive timeline history, and I can go back and see if a baby in utero has had many ultrasounds. I can see the disruption that takes place within their nervous system and primes them for some of the things that they are, that they're struggling with as they get older.
Yeah.
So sometimes just utilizing that remedy in a specific course can help to really tone down all that disruption.
Excellent. Hey, Lisa, this has been awesome. A little bonus time with you.
Yeah.
Extended homeopathic hit beyond the normal extension as well, and the ditch and switch as well with flu. And I'm still trying to figure out when I'm coming back to visit mom in Atlanta area and you. And I want to time it out to where we can take that, what is that, 1966 Corvette out of the garage and go for a ride, So gotta look at that again.
Yeah. Well, it was 55 degrees here yesterday. It's a little bit colder today, but you can take the car out in that weather.
Oh, yeah, it's chilly at that point, I know. But looking forward to that next visit as well. Say hi to the fam and anything we can do to help you. And y'all, go to vibrantlife247.com. Avail yourselves of the services of Lisa Rooney. Do you have even room left? Are you so in demand now? Do you have some space?
I'm not. I'm booking into January at this point. Obviously, it's towards the end of the year. But yeah, there's space. There's always space. You might have to wait a little bit, but there's always space.
Right. And we're excited about the impending release of your coursework. So, well, obviously, the moment that's available, maybe you'll have a little bit of a sneak preview at the AMA if you could show up on the 27th of December.
Oh, yes, I will try to do that. Yes. Go to my website, get right on that first page. There is a get on the wait list. And I'm looking at a January, probably late January release at this point. I am now down to doing all the recordings and getting the landing page up and going.
All right. Well, in hour two, I got to talk about some of the responses to COVID in old people and how it actually killed people. Not surprising, it was allopathic. Also, whole milk returns to schools everywhere. It's, I guess, part of the MAHA agenda. I don't know how organic it'll be, but maybe we'll see. Also, let's see. You mentioned, as Super Don did, it's his birthday. Weapons of happy birthday. No, weapons of mass destruction. Drugs, not just fentanyl, but what about all the rest? We'll cover that as well. Lisa, big hugs. Thank you for being here.
To you too. You guys have a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, all right.